You getting us online? All
Yep.
right. Like to call to order the August 27th Columbia Borough Council meeting. Have a roll call, please.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Price. Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor Litz.
Councilperson Stahl is also here.
Thank you.
And
Council
so
President Zink.
here,
Thank you.
Leo, you went out of turn, got all.
Well, she paused, that's why I got because usually Todd's last.
Save the best for last, right now.
All right. Did we get everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anybody that would care to offer an invocation? If you'd like, please rise for a moment of silence. Because I forgot where I am. Mayor Lutz, would you lead us in a pledge?
Sure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Announcement of executive and information sessions at the conclusion of the August 13th council meeting. There was an executive session to discuss personnel matters related to replacing staff. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda? I have one item that I would like to remove, 7A, the approval of the Borough Council meeting minutes for July 23rd. That was approved at the last meeting, so we can remove that. Is there anything else that needs done? Could I have a motion to approve the reorganized agenda?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Fisher, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the reorganized agenda. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign-up I have is James Gambler.
My first question is, when a sheriff or constable is coming to town, do they tell you guys in advance, or how does that work?
Sometimes.
Okay. Because they came to, well, they were coming from someone in the apartment building I'm connected to, and the guy pulling on the gate. Thank goodness my wife was home and said, hey, what's going on? I don't know why he was doing it.
If they're
Our
serving,
address is clearly marked on the front.
if they're serving a warrant, James, and they know it's I'll say a non-violent, non-confrontational warrant,
Okay.
they won't contact the police department.
Okay.
If there's any cause, or I shouldn't say cause, they have any feelings that there may be some disruptive actions, they will contact the department and have an officer or officers assist.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have one other question, if it's all right.
Mhm.
It's about codes. What's the standard for the paint chipping off your house? I mean, is it 10 square feet, 20 square feet? How do they determine if your house needs painted or not? How does that work?
You want to take a stab at it, Paul?
Yep.
A good bit of chipping, peeling paint will warrant a notice of violation.
Okay, so a good bit is,
We use our judgment.
okay, that's what I was wondering, okay. All right, fair enough. So I got a painter to come, give me an estimate. So I'm good now with my estimate until this painter comes. I'm not gonna have to go for any fines or anything like that?
No.
Okay,
We do ask that you provide the estimate, just in case it's not done by compliance time, you have that.
I do have the estimate, and I did contact codes Also, I did
Okay.
call, I guess, you mark your address or whatever, is that how it works?
Who'd you talk to? You don't know.
I can't remember, that's off
Okay.
the top of my head.
I think
Okay.
the back of you there.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
And James, we have to be a little more clear. We understand that contractors today, whether it be paint contractors or carpenters, whatever, are very busy and they're down in people. So if it gets to the point to where, and I know the guys, we talked about this week, discretionary, they have to use discretion. If it gets to the point to where they can't get to your house and you say, hey, I have contracted with so-and-so to do this job. They are so busy that they're not gonna get there in the time that I thought they were going to get there. We will say, hey, we understand.
Yes, the estimate I got, the painter that's coming can't get there till November. I mean, that's the best.
And
That's
what if
what I
it
wanna
snows,
use,
what if it
so-
snows in November, James? You're not gonna paint the house, right?
No.
Right, so we use discretion.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, thank you.
Thank you. The next sign up I have is Amy Hall.
Good evening, everybody. I have more of a comment than I do questions. I have quite a few of you on an ongoing email chain. I have about 158 Walnut Street, one of 81 properties that Nabil Eskinder and his LLCs and his business partner Israel own. I moved to Columbia 4 years ago because I saw the growth and the beauty in our small town here. And where I live, I'm part of that Walnut Street project that's going to go on, and I'm trying my best to hold out to continue to live here. But the advice that was given to me by Chief Bomber, I'm very familiar with it. I had a drug house next to me for 1.5 years that sold heroin and fentanyl that was raided by the drug task force. The next tenant after that was throwing rocks from the 3rd floor, breaking the car windows, that type of thing. And now there's a tenant in there where, I get to come home from work and be verbally assaulted, and so right now the animals are out running, the doors are wide open. I see your codes people come. And as soon as the codes people leave, there's still trash can with maggots, no lid out front. There's still you can go by it right now, the trash cans are still out. And we have citizens in this town that are getting quick tickets, for putting out furniture they think that the new trash company will take. But yet 158 Walnut Street has 3 dogs and 2 cats that I see no evidence of licenses or anything, that are constantly trying to get into my house, my neighbor's house. And it's to the point, I have a reactive chocolate lab I rescued, and my chocolate lab doesn't go to the bathroom in the back of my own fenced yard because their animals burrow underneath my fence into my yard. So now my daughter, because of all this noise and drama, is looking to move out. And so basically what I want to share with you is my life's changing a lot and I'm trying to be patient, but I feel like there's, more worth in becoming a slumlord in Columbia than a tax-paying citizen who follows all the borough rules and everything, because when I did call the non-emergency number, the police didn't come. So then this past Sunday when we had our screaming match, I did call 911, but we all agree that it's a codes thing. We all agree that your codes people all work for Nabil's 81 properties and you don't have time for anything else. And I'm frustrated because I feel like what's stopping me from turning my house into a rental property and leaving? I can make $1,000 more a month by doing that than having no contact orders with my neighbors, with them blasting music, with them saying they're threatening to contact my employer, about things. And I feel harassed and nothing has changed. And I don't know what to do about this. because yes, I call 911, I call non-emergency, I, file no contact orders, like I'm doing all this stuff and it would be easier for me to just sell my house. But I can't sell my house because there's a slum property connected to me at 158. So then maybe I should just rent like him and pay $25 quick tickets, but make $1,000 extra a month more than the mortgage. Because he charges $17.50 a month for 158 Walnut Street. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if anybody has any solutions.
You want to comment, Paul, or you want me?
Go ahead, I'll
Uh,
step in.
We met several times on your issue, as early as this morning, and discussed what's going on. There have been actions taken, but you mentioned on one of your emails that the police called but didn't talk to you.
We did not. They just got out of the car and went back into their car.
Yeah. The report that came in that you gave was 150 Walnut Street. That was on the CAD. So the officers went to 150 Walnut Street and looked around, didn't see anything, and left. Now,
The person didn't, I don't know, they rushed me off the phone and I sat on my front
well,
porch
they
waiting for
they
them.
went back and said, "Are you sure it's 150?" And the dispatcher said, "Are you sure it's 150?" You said, "Yes, it's 150. This is the CAD report."
A dispatcher didn't call me back.
No. When you were on the phone with the dispatcher said, "Okay, 150, is that correct?"
I know my own address.
Well, this is the CAD report.
So perhaps maybe your person made a mistake.
No, this is the report that came in over the phone.
Okay, so I called the non-emergency number.
Yeah.
And the person rushed me off so quickly, and then I waited on my phone
But
for an
anyhow,
hour.
I wanted to tell you, sometimes when anybody makes a call about a disturbance, the officers will come, okay? They may not contact you. One of the reasons is they don't want to walk up to you and talk to you so that the person you're calling about says, "Oh, that's the one that made the call, I'll get them back," because of retribution. So sometimes we won't acknowledge, and we don't use names, we won't acknowledge who made the call. So the officer probably didn't come and talk to you that night because they didn't want to tip off those people that you're the one that called. Okay? Now,
I live retribution every day.
well, we had a meeting this morning, and out of that meeting, Paula and the chief met with the property owner. And the property owner was ready to riot act on it. They will be in there tomorrow, the property owner and his associate, and they will be inspecting that property. One thing to remind you of, the dogs are service dogs. There's a whole lot we can do as far as getting rid of them.
So all 4 of them are?
The report that we got is there are 2 dogs.
Okay, there's 4, but
Well, they'll find that out
2
tomorrow.
cats.
And the cats, the report we got is there's no cats. They may be feral cats. So that's why
They're in
they're
their
going in
house
there,
and
that's why they're going in there tomorrow. So, and believe me, I believe there's 2, I believe what you're telling me. We have dealt with this person enough that they're going in there tomorrow. He was told on no uncertain terms that this is going to stop, or we're going to take some other actions here. I'm going to speak to this a little later tonight, just briefly, but we have been meeting, we have been meeting regularly on your situation and on some other ones in town, that we feel as though we need to step up or change some of the direction we're taking to, and one of the reasons is the length of time it takes to complete one of these problems. And I'll explain that a little bit later. But that's one thing we're doing. But last week, I went down the alley, back to your property. I came back, contacted Paula, said, send the code guy down, go down the alley, park, and you gotta walk in because they're only half yards. Walk in, take a look at that yard. This morning I went down, looked, Walnut Street, there's a pallet trash on the front step. Called Paula and an officer went down this morning. So things are being done, not your satisfaction, not my satisfaction, as far as the property owner.
Oh, yeah,
The
definitely.
property
I
owner,
hold them responsible.
yeah, okay, but we're working on it.
Thank you very much.
Paul, do you want to say anything?
Just a question, do you have cameras on your property?
Yes, everywhere.
Do they, do they videotape?
Yes, and I had a really busy day at work because I was going to do printouts for you all of their pets and everything, so.
And my understanding is there's a hole in the fence that the
Yes.
cats are getting
Yes,
through to your, okay,
and dogs.
and dogs. So do you have that one?
I have to move a camera to catch that, but I just have pictures and video of the animals in my backyard. I don't have video scooting under the fence, but I'm moving a camera, so I will catch that.
Anything you have, you can supply us.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to do that today, but I ended up working 2 hours after my day job. But when they threaten my income, you know, when I'm trying to pay my mortgage here in Columbia, it's frustrating.
I will also tell you, I know someone else on that block, and she has also complained that they are multiple times a day, a week, pulling those animals off of the street so they're not getting hit, so they don't get hit by cars and everything else.
Yeah, we need to know that, you know, and the old adage is, and I'm not trying to soft pedal it, if there's a noise or a complaint such as that, if the officer responds and doesn't see anything, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
So we have to work in unison. Now, along with that meeting this morning, Paul and the chief agreed that we're going to try to, I think we have a good relationship right now, but we're going to try to make sure that we can step up that relationship back and forth. A lot of this stuff on email causes confusion. When you get email chains, one doesn't know if the other one got it, and it goes back and forth. That's a problem. But we're going to work on this problem and some other ones. Like I said, I'll talk to you later.
All right, the next sign up is Sharon Lichtner.
Hello, I just have a question for you on, someone can explain the difference between a hearing when we have a stenographer here to discuss zoning, like a zoning hearing, versus the kind of public hearing we had last week, which I thought included some zoning requests.
It's not a, so the hearing was a conditional use hearing, which is heard by the board, right? And we are going to, just so we're clear, that hearing is going to take place again on the 3rd.
Okay.
Because we missed some things on that. So we're gonna make sure that that is advertised correctly. We've sent some notices to all the adjoining property owners, even though we don't have to do that. But that's the difference there. It's not the zoning hearing.
Okay,
Yep,
I
yep.
appreciate that,
Yep.
thank you. And one other thing, from the bills that were on the August 13th meeting agenda or board packet, can you tell me what the meeting was about for the chip factory? Is that project moving ahead? I saw we were billed for.
I will have to look back at, honestly, off the top of my head, that would have probably been in June or so, but I can look at that and see exactly what that was
I
about.
was just curious because we
Yeah.
hadn't heard anything in a long time.
Yeah.
And I saw there had been.
I do, if I remember correctly, I think there was something to do with the dates of some of the like the zoning decisions and things like that. But I'll get back to you, Sharon. I promise. I will have to look at it, but yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
yep.
All right, next we have Richard Whitson.
I have someone else, like him late, can he come up with me?
Yes.
And my name is Joshua Myers,
Okay.
and I'm Richard Woodson. The problem is, I know it's with the code issue, but it's been going on since March. They don't have a disposal for trash. And their property looks really bad. I've been up here like 2 or 3 times, and every time they get a letter, then they take it.
What's the address?
What's the address?
122 South Second Street.
So we're on both sides of that
I
property.
was there next week. Talk to you.
The challenges are multi-levels. We're having, the property was up for foreclosure for a July 31st date. They sold it maybe 2 or 3 days before that. And it appears that that was just a feint, a ploy, in order to try to stay in the house. We haven't seen any movement that looks like they're trying to move out. After the meeting, I have pictures from both before and after the meeting, and continuing now. They got rid of some of the trash, but there's still a good lot of the trash that is there. We continue to trap mice in my house. We both have flea infestations on both of our properties.
And roaches. I
The,
have a exterminator every month, spraying my place.
he shares an adjoining property. The house on the other side of our half house, is up for sale. And it appears that they're doing everything they can to disrupt that sale as well. The realtors were bringing some people in, and they brought their grill outside of the fence, right up next to my property line. Right, in what appeared to be an intentional trying to incite, I don't play that, right? But they were trying to incite some kind of thing to then say, well, see, they're gonna be bad neighbors for you. There's still trash and weeds in the front yard, small trees growing up, along the fence. Now, this is the same people who did a hit and run on our car, and we have video, and we provided the video to the police, and nothing was done about it. This is, for us, this has been 3 years. Rich, you've been there how long?
28.
And when I moved in, there was 9 months straight of parties till 2 a.m. every single night, and bigger parties on every holiday. We saw naked sex in the backyard. There's 10 kids there. It appears to all evidence that there is no relation to most of the people that are living there, which means they're living there as tenants, not as family members. I want to know, they've literally threatened to kill our dogs. They have pulled the fence open when they didn't know my wife was in the backyard to try to encourage, and called one of my dogs to come over to their yard so that their dog could attack it. This is, now, like I said, they don't seem to be making any moves to move out, which means I think that it was just a ploy to try to buy more time. I come to you as my representatives, and would like to know, what can be done. I sympathize with this young lady over here where she's got video, but maybe not the right angle. And, it feels like the same thing is kind of going on there. I am sorry that you are going through this, Paula. You have that address to,
We've been addressing it.
yeah.
They have several outstanding fines and notices.
This is a rental unit?
No,
And Mr. Whitten, I talked to you next week
Yeah.
when I was down there, and as you said, you let me believe that in 30 days, the house is sold, they were going to be moving out. I don't know if that 30 days has passed yet or not. I agree with you. You have to wait and see, are they going out or not? But I did mention to you that if that trash builds up, you let us know, because I suspect if they decide that they are going to sell it, and they are going to move out, there's going to be a pallet trash put somewhere. And we're going to have to get on.
When do you think the house was sold?
I believe July 27th.
Okay, I'm just looking, because it hasn't updated in the assessment data yet. There's nothing there that would indicate.
Right.
It was sold to one of those we buy houses outfits.
Right, there were, the lady who was fixing up the other half of the house we live in, said that she had walked through that property and she had offered like 85 grand. She said it's gonna take another 85 grand just to put it up to level.
Well, if,
She had to flea bomb her car after she left because the flea infestation was that bad.
well, wait a minute. If they're living in it and they don't own it, then it's unregistered rental, correct?
No,
The property hasn't transferred yet.
They've owned it for years.
Yeah, but if it's sold,
Yeah, but it hasn't sold yet.
so it's under contract.
Yeah, it very well
it's
could be
not-
under contract. They just haven't gotten to settlement yet or whatever. the
Well,
case is.
and the settlement depends on a move out of the house. So if they don't move out of the house,
Then
then you can't settle and it just drags it farther out.
So I do have another question.
All right.
How many people did you say lived there?
Or about 20 some.
22.
There's about 10 kids.
Okay, well, hold on a second. Go ahead.
With that information, with that in the infestation, and if the inside is anything like the outside, we can get a search warrant, go in and
Condemn it.
condemn it.
You're only allowed so many people in a house, and you're only allowed so many people per bedroom.
No,
Not if it's owner occupied.
not if it's owner occupied.
Yeah.
I will mention something else that during those first 9 months when we weren't getting any, and we would see sometimes the police would show up because they had huge fights all through the street, right?
This has been going on for a long time, Mr. Whitman.
Right. And when the police would show up, the music would already be turned down before the police got there. And I feel that they were getting some kind of information within the borough system somewhere.
I don't know how Candace and Kristen.
There's a lot of people at workplaces, and I don't know how. I'm just saying from my observation, it seems distressing, but it seemed to be that they were constantly getting it turned down just before the police arrived.
I can tell you that the family that lives there has lived there for several generations. Parents went through it. And we have had problems with them going back several generations from time to time. And there's no love between code, Columbia Borough Police Department, and the occupants of that house.
Fair enough.
All right, well, with that, can we get on that then, Paula, about getting a,
One other minor thing that just as I've tried to put reports in, I love that I'm able to kind of anonymously put a report in. It would be wonderful to also be able to upload a picture when I submit things.
I think you can.
I
On the
didn't find it.
website.
I was doing it on my phone, so I don't know whether it was a phone.
that might
issue or
be it,
something.
yeah, because I think it's
The
not
reality
always.
is most of my pictures are on my phone.
Yeah.
Getting them on a computer is a challenge.
If you're on the website, go to any one of our emails,
Okay.
send us an email. It's always gonna be put in the system as anonymous, so nobody will ever know whether it's you, who it is.
All right.
That way you can upload pictures for
Right.
sure.
And that's
Yeah, I mean-
That's a great comment, because we talked the other day about this, and in the police, we have that anonymous tip line that's working real well. And Coach does have something similar, but we're gonna look and see.
Off the website, you can go in and put a
Yeah.
complaint in.
Yeah,
The
it
The
doesn't
only
ask for an
problem,
email, it doesn't ask for-
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can't simplify this whole process.
the only problem with that, just so you're aware, if you put a complaint in through the website, we can't respond to it. So that's why I'm saying
Wait,
an
wait, you
email,
can't respond to me, or you can't respond to the complaint?
we can't, no, we respond to the
Okay,
complaint.
just-
Well, we can't send you a personal
person.
Correct,
update.
like I cannot respond to you and say, we
Right.
received this, we will be checking it out. And that's typically what I do with emails.
Yeah.
So just so you're aware
Yeah.
there, we get them, we get a lot, but we can't respond to any of them.
Right.
To the people that are,
Yes, yeah.
That system's on.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right, you know, with the police, there was an active shooter that they chased through the house not too long ago, and, you know, I feel that even saying stuff here publicly jeopardizes my life and my family, right? But I feel that I need to make the statement, this is where I live, and this is, you know, I bought a home in Columbia, I rented my whole life prior, and, I love Columbia, it's a wonderful little town. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you guys for
Mr.
coming
you
forward.
know,
Yeah.
To your last statement, Mr. Whitten knows this, what we did, Whitten knows this. If you have that concern, we are most willing to sit down with you or any group of folks. We did it with your
A
neighbor.
while back ago.
Yeah, sit down in private and discuss this stuff so that the party that you're talking about doesn't know.
Right.
And I just talked earlier about retribution. So we're more than willing to do that. If you get to that point, I'm straight, the neighbors come in that time. We had a meeting in here. It's been a couple years ago. That was regarding another person.
Yeah, I won't mention the name, but he's not around.
Right. He passed away. By the way, as far as the poisoning goes, yes, they actually did poison, Bob's dog. She survived. But, yeah, you know,
But yeah, if you want to sit down and talk, and you're concerned about coming here and talking, we'll let you.
all right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, thanks.
And the final sign up we have is Frank Daltrick.
Good evening, folks. Frank Dalkis, 1001 Arundel Pike. I come to the CAT meeting last Wednesday, and I got here about 15 minutes early, so I just sat outside in my truck, and I couldn't believe the amount of dogs in the downtown, the people walking the dogs. Probably the apartments brought that, and there's probably not we can do about it, but also the amount of bicycles, mostly electric bicycles. Same way they're entitled to the roadway and everything. I couldn't believe though how they were crossing the street back and forth. I haven't seen any on the pavements, but are the bicycles allowed on the pavements? No. Regardless if they're electric or not. All right, does the electric part separate them from the regular bikes? No, same thing as a bicycle. Okay, and then when I come into the meeting, I seen on the door, which I wanted to stay for the hard meeting, that was canceled, but no reason why. Do you know why? I think it was the third time that it was canceled.
It was canceled because the postings were not made as appropriate for the meeting. We were not able to take action on those items because properties were not posted like they're supposed to be, notifying everyone that there is a hearing, that they're going to bar.
So was there any meetings in between there?
What do you mean?
If their meetings were canceled and everything was on the agenda, I think there was 3 or 4 properties on the agenda, did any of them come at another time before the next?
No, they come to the next hard meeting.
Which brings me to the property across from the Turkey Hill Experience. That was shut down because they didn't have permits. That was on the agenda. How are they able to work today then?
I don't know if they're working.
they have gotten, building permit approval to do the inside. That's why they're working. They're doing nothing on the outside until September 12th.
And Barb only covers the outside. Okay, that makes sense. What would be the penalty for someone that gets a permit? They get the yellow sign that tells you what's going to be done. What's the penalty for not displaying that permit, that sign?
I don't believe there is a penalty.
No.
So if my neighbor starts putting siding on his house and I happen to look over, there's no sign over there, I had no idea what's going on. What's the idea of getting a sign then?
Majority of them, since we've gone back to issuing the placard, are posting them. If they're not, you have a concern, do what everybody did before, call in here and inquire.
That's, to me,
But
that-
that's why we went
Above it.
back to placard,
Yes,
to
we can
sending
see.
out the placards to make the neighbors aware that they do have a permit.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you don't see
You don't
one,
see one, they didn't get
you
one.
know, call in, we'll let you know.
doesn't sound like a good way to do that business. But anyway, if that's what you say it's going to be. A good friend of mine lives on 3rd Street, close to where the fair was. And she's very concerned about her property value. And she asked me if I would bring some of these issues up tonight at the meeting. Her understanding is that, and again, we're all sorry for the fair that happened there, but she wants to know when, but apparently, when you have an emergency like that, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't need a permit. You can go in there and do what you got to do to clean up and do whatever. At what point, and there could be things that we don't know, but at what point do they have to go through the process so we know that everything's going to be done right and it gets started? Talking about the permitting process, the HARB.
If you're referring to the toll booth.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So that was an emergency. So what happens then, if I'm not mistaken, in code, you have 24 hours to come in and submit a permit. And now you're gonna ask me if they did, and I don't know, and this isn't gonna tell me anything right now. I'm assuming they did come in after the fact and get a permit.
Well, who would know that?
The zoning officer, and I could look it up, but this is not working right now.
Okay. The property on the corner at the toll booth, word on the street is that someone has been living in that property. Some people or someone, and the people that passed this on to me said they have been trying to get them out. So somewhere along the line, someone, the owner or owners of toll booth come to the borough, come in and pleaded their case with the woman that took care of it at the front, which isn't here no more. I understand she's gone, but they come in and apparently they were supposed to get a change of use for the people living in this place. It was never done. And apparently we had to go through zoning and stuff, and they must have pleaded their case with this woman. Supposedly she went behind the scenes and come back and supposedly everything was squashed. We don't know what the story is. Is
Well,
there
there's a
people
whole
living
lot
there
of-
yet?
There's a whole lot of speculation and everything else there. I mean, if we have like,
It's an
Some
operating
facts.
business.
yeah,
That's a business.
Let me finish. It might be an operating business, but they have to follow the laws like I do. You're gonna come to me if I don't have a registered place. You're saying it's okay that these people can be living in
No, what I'm
there.
saying, Frank,
And my
it's an
understanding
operating
is, Leo,
business.
they were there when the fire was going on. They were in that time. The borough didn't get them out at that time. So somewhere along the line, somebody's not doing their job. Now,
If we
explain
know
to me, are they there
Yeah.
now?
No.
Innuendo and rumor.
Yeah.
That's what has.
If you, do you have proof that there's people living in there? Is there proof that there's people living in there?
Provide it.
Well, there's proof that the person come to the borough to
And
get this squashed. I guess.
where is that proof? Who did they
Well,
talk to?
can-
What can you tell me?
Why can't you tell me if the codes was trying to get these people out? You don't know that? Do you know that, Paula?
I'm not sure where you're referencing.
Second and Chestnut Street, the blue building that used to have the siding on it, they took the siding off of. I think would it be 201? I don't know. It's where the business is being done right now. It's where the people that had the businesses there that burned out, they're supposedly in there right now. Supposedly on the second floor is where there was unregistered, there's a unregistered apartment.
It is not unregistered.
Say it again.
It is not unregistered. It is a registered rental.
It's fine. If the owner comes to the borough, and I got it from a very, very good,
We wouldn't issue a rental registration if it wasn't legal.
It's done problem.
go ahead.
I mean, I'm not gonna let you.
Yeah, I'm not here
stand
to argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm just here, these people are running the borough, you have the facts, so if you think I'm saying something out of turn, straighten me out.
Well, I think you're saying stuff's out of turn because it's a registered rental.
Has the borough been trying to get anybody out of there? Has the code department had trying to get anybody out of there?
What do you mean trying to get anybody out of there?
People in there that didn't belong in there are living in there.
It's a registered
It's
rental.
a registered
It's a
rental.
registered rental, they're illegal.
Do you know when it was registered?
I can get back to you on that.
That's probably how it was taken care of. Now you're putting
Come on.
thoughts into my head.
Come on, Frank.
Hey,
Hey, there's people that's concerned that lives close to that place, and we feel the owner's pain that it burned out, but we're just following the law like it's applied to us. We want to know the other people do the same. That's probably really what I got, but I'm not satisfied with the answers I got on that.
keep answers there. The facts.
All right. Item 7A was removed from the agenda, so we're on to presentation and acceptance of reports, community development.
I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the zoning and planning report for July 2024.
Finance, I would like to acknowledge receipt of the finance reports for July 2024, and also note that the second quarter lien report was included. It wasn't in July like it should have been, but it is in the August packet. And then safety and marketing, Councilperson Lagarde.
I'd like to acknowledge receipt of the public safety reports for July 2024, Columbia Borough Police Department, July 2024, Columbia Borough Fire Department for July 2024, Columbia EMOC report for July 2024, and EMS report for July 2024, and acknowledge receipt of the codes compliance report and condemnation report for July 2024. I want to thank Chief Brommer for sharing the Crime Watch semi-annual impact report. That's not in this packet. If you have had a chance to look at the statistics, you would see that Columbia Borough's engagement with Crime Watch is in the top 6 of the top 25 municipalities or departments using to have a Crime Watch account. I think that coincides with how busy we are as a police department as well. So I don't know if being in the top 6 is a good thing or a bad thing. I think having the least amount of incidents in a borough and requiring 0 Crime Watch participation would be better. But it's good to see that folks are engaged. it's a very valuable asset when you're a busy borough like ours. And I would like to ask if the staff can get that report put onto the website, please. Also, there were some questions asked after the Tollwood fire regarding the mobile EOC and when it gets activated. I wanted to ask Chief Rhino to share some thoughts on that. We talked at length about it in our last emergency management meeting. And Chief has something to share.
Thanks, Todd. Good evening, everyone. So this is, it's been discussed for a little while at the EMA meeting, but I realize not all council is part of that meeting. So when there's a big fire situation like what occurred at the toll booth, the biggest challenge that we would have or have any need for external resources that we don't have in terms of already in our vehicle or things like that would be in the communications realm. So just as a kind of an idea, when we're running a fire, we run off of a 2-channel system. So the command is on one channel, the operations of the fire scene is on another channel. In our command vehicle, we have those 2 radios already set up. Okay, so we're kind of already ready to go. If you have a big fire like that, there are times where it could go to a 3rd or 4th channel for tanker operations and different things like that. So within Lancaster County, the County 911 Center has, it's called FieldComm. It's called FieldComm 91. I refer to it as basically a mobile 911 center. It is a large, drivable motorhome type looking vehicle. It's been in town before. Some of you may have seen it. It's been right out front of the building before. That particular vehicle is housed over at the County Training Center in Salunga. That vehicle can be dispatched 1 of 2 ways. The incident commander can call into the 911 supervisor at the time and say, hey, I think my incident is escalating to the point where I can make use of that vehicle. Or it can go the other way where the 911 supervisor says, listen, your incident is overtaxing the 911 center for everything else that's going on in the county. I think it'd be beneficial if I send you this vehicle. The thing is with that vehicle, when it gets here, it basically is a miniature 911 center. They plug it in, they hook it up. It's got working phone lines. It's got all the radio system. They send dispatchers. It then takes over the local incident, takes that away from the Manheim 911 Center, so they focus on everything else that's going on in the county. So the challenge would be from a fire department side for the EMA trailer that the borough has, and I had expressed this when it was being built, is in all honesty, that has very little to no use to the fire department because there are no radios in that other than a portable or 2, which we already have plenty of those. We already have all those capabilities. It would have some, I'm sure probably a whiteboard, and I know it's got some, but again, when the county larger vehicle comes, there's a place in the front of that to sit around a table and meet and get officials in and everything else. So if we were to need that type of resource, realistically, we would call the county's resource because it's gonna bring the extra equipment and the things that we need. Now, they didn't even end up calling in the county's vehicle that night either, and the supervisor obviously didn't feel it was necessary either. So we were able to run everything that night, and when I say we, understand I was in Ocean City, Maryland. I wasn't here, so trust me, I got plenty of phone calls, but I wasn't here. But my other officers did a great job running it. And, they were able to run that out of our vehicle on the radios that we have to run everyday communications. So we're aware it exists. We're aware of what its capabilities are. But again, the reality of for a fire department use, you're probably not going to see that on big fires just because of what it can bring. And if we are to need that, you're probably going to see the county vehicle before the trailer, just because the need that we would have is what the county is able to provide. So that's kind of any other questions anybody has on that, or to explain it. Okay, so I just then want to take the opportunity to some, probably most of you know, here of late, there has been some additional fires in town. There's been a fire recently in 8th Street. There was a smaller fire over on Fairview Avenue not long ago. Fire at 2nd Walnut recently. So a couple of things related to those. Number one, I wanted everybody to understand, none of those fires at this point are suspicious. So, we talk about rumors and innuendo. I get stopped at places like Turkey Hill. There's been a lot of fires in town. Is there an arsonist running around? No, there is not. Okay, so it's an unfortunate chain of events where there's recently been 2 or 3 fires. None of those fires are suspicious in nature. But what we have found is some things to remind residents of, and things that we find more and more now. Codes is aware, we work with codes all the time. We are seeing more of a hoarding problem in town. One of these houses is now condemned. It was very much a hoarding situation. We are seeing a lot, which is especially in rental properties, which is what's caused some of these fires, not all of them, but some of them, where we have an air conditioner plugged into a power strip, plugged into an extension cord, running to an outlet. Okay? So, and I understand it's tough. When I discuss this with the tenants, I had one lady crying, and she's like, yeah, I kind of know I probably shouldn't have did that, but what am I supposed to do? Half the electric doesn't work in this place. My landlord won't do anything about it. It's 90 degrees out. All these quality of life issues that you've heard about this evening. Some mayor's been here back in my days when I sat in your seat. These are 20-year-old issues. They are. These are, these quality of life issues are 20+ years old. So we're seeing that kind of thing. We are seeing in a number of cases, certainly not all, but in a number of cases, we're seeing deplorable living conditions. Unfortunately, in a number of these cases, there's children living in these places. And, you're standing there and various bugs are on the move that should not be on the move inside houses. I'll let it at that. So there is still a lot of cleanup in that regard that needs done. I do know that, one of the challenges is, I've talked a lot with Matt from Codes about this. One of the challenges Codes has is they see what they see when they go in there that day. Then once they leave, what happens the next day and the next day, they don't know that. They only know what happened that day when they were there. So again, that's a challenge, but we are seeing more of these different things, and to the point about 22 people and things like that, I can tell you that we're going into properties where the size of the house and the number of bedrooms in the place, there are way too many people living in some of these places. And if you talk to the school district and check into some of that. They got lots of people coming in from out of town and are homeless, and they're doing some of this, what they call doubling up, where, I don't really have a residence, but Eric tells me I could move in with him for now, and so now my family moves in with him, and that's not really so I'm claiming that now as my address, but I'm sort of only, quote, temporarily staying there. We're seeing that occurring. So that all affects the fire load situation in town and is very concerning. I mean, the apartment building here at 2nd Walnut Street the other night, that was a bad fire quickly, and there were initial reports of children trapped. Thankfully, they were not. They were at the park. But there are many properties we go into today for reported fire calls or to assist EMS on some of their calls that I point out to my guys, if this place was ever on fire, we got major issues. Like some of these places that keep me awake at night. If there was ever fires in there, I don't know how we'll get people out. So, but none of those fires are suspicious in nature, but they all are preventable fires. They were accidental. The people that, the reasons they were started, they certainly didn't try to start them. They were accidental fires, but they were also preventable fires. So I understand there's only so much you can do. Like I said, with codes, they can only address what they can address at the time, and then I run into landlords all the time as those codes where I'm like, you work in smoke detectors, and they're like, I absolutely have work in smoke detectors. And then you go and there's the ring on the wall where the smoke detector was. So in their defense, they're right. They did have smoke detectors. For whatever reason, the tenant removed it. And that's so we chastise landlords, and I think all of us in here have been in town and dealt with this long enough to know there are some bad landlords, absolutely. But it's also not all the landlords' fault either. There are some good landlords that try to do the right thing, and it's a tenant issue. So like I said, it's a 20-year-old problem. There's no simple answers to any of that, but I just kind of want to let you know what we're seeing out there and dealing with, and let you know that the 2 or 3 or 4 fires that we've had, it's just coincidental that we've had that number of them in the last month or so. There's nothing suspicious about any of those. So any questions on?
No, thanks for your comments. So, okay, so you bring the forefront, like I said, it's going on for 20 years. It's as long as we have humans involved, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Wish
And
I had
like
a
I
quick
said,
fix
I'd
for
love to stand here and give you suggestions and ideas, and here's how you fix it. I don't have the answers because, like I said, it's been going on for 20+ years. It's quality of life issues, and it's the things I see, one of the statements I use all the time now is I never in town anymore say I've seen it all. Because let me tell you, then I go into the next situation, I'm like, I can't believe what I'm looking at. So it can be frustrating, and I certainly understand I get drug into some of the situations these folks have talked about. And listen, I totally get that. And I have people, I had one just, I was up in Councilman Kaufman's neighborhood last night. He didn't come out and say hi. And, again, it was an outside burning issue that was way too close to a house. And, I totally get it. The lady said, I'm sorry I called, but my neighbors aren't cooperative. And so we don't have a neighbor relationship where I can kind of go say, hey, what are you doing? And she said, I got smoke pouring in my back window from, she's like, I'm worried my house is going to catch fire. listen, it's a valid concern, I get it. I wouldn't want to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night when I got smoke from the neighbors pouring in my back window, and I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't know what's going on, okay? So, thankfully, we were able to, get that situation mitigated and get everybody off the bed, but those are the kinds of things, though, that happen, and I get it. I would be concerned if I was that neighbor as well.
Yeah.
And, that's the other unfortunate of some areas of town, the way the town's built was long before us. You got some of these are very, very close together. And it is a big concern because you get a fire going, you could lose a lot. So I understand those people's concerns.
And so I've seen situations where someone they're cooking, like you said, it happened in our neighborhood, cooking on a gas grill. The grill's sitting on a wooden porch with a ceiling above it that's plywood and a wooden fence 2 feet away. And every time they open the grill, the flames shoot up to the ceiling. I'm like,
Yeah,
do you realize what you're putting at risk?
and I dealt with it when I was a fire inspector, and I'm sure Matt deals with it now, is these places where you go where it's supposed to be a 10-foot radius and all, and here's the reality. We go to properties where they don't have a 10-foot radius, like they don't. And some of those folks will then, I used to get this question, well then, how am I supposed to have this fire then? Sir, you're not. You're not. I mean, that's the, and then they but then they get mad of, well, I'm a homeowner or I'm a tenant, how can you tell me that, I can't cook my hot dogs out back? And I try to be as diplomatic as I can, but it's like, listen, sir, I didn't tell you to rent or buy this property that has no backyard. You chose to do that. But from a fire standpoint, I can't allow you to burn. You're affecting the whole neighborhood. But of course, some people just do it. They don't ask. And we've cracked down a lot on that. And I think we've, found a lot of those that are just were burning that shouldn't be. But it's still like the Knox box ordinance amazes me every time I think we've got every absolute Knox box that's required in Columbia. I'll come upon another place and I'm like, you're required to have a Knox box. How do you not have that? Well, they somehow just, didn't do it. So it's tough to catch everybody, but collectively we do the best we can. And like I said, I understand what these folks are saying. It's a major quality of life issue and a safety issue, really. True.
Thank you.
Nope, thank you. Todd, I'm not sure if you noticed about the Penn State attendance tonight, so. See you again. I don't know if you wanted to invite him to speak. Sure. Come on up.
Good evening, Scott Beagle, I'm the director for Penn State Health Lifeline. I will be brief. A couple issues here Chief Ryan and I were talking about. I will just echo some of his sentiments that our crews, and I can tell you it's not just Columbia. We see this in multiple municipalities that we deal with. But some of these quality of life issues, I also believe we see from our end, socioeconomic issues have an underlying healthcare issue, mental health issue as well with some of these issues. I will tell you that one word that we dread in our department, our industry, is bed bugs. There have been several times this year where we've had 911 calls, not just here in the borough, but elsewhere, where our crews have had patients with bed bug infestations, and they go everywhere. So we've had the instances where they've been brought back into the ambulances, into our stations. We've had some crew members, unfortunately, bring them home. We've obviously, you have a patient who's covered in fleas and bed bugs, they go into the emergency department. We have to go through a whole decontamination process for that too. So we see this everywhere. So it is not here in the borough, but it is a challenge. So we do echo the sentiments, and the hoarding issue too is something else that we see. And we're in a bit of a tighter spot as far as some patient privacy concerns, that when we see some of these issues, we have reporting mechanisms that we can go through on the healthcare side, especially if there's elderly or child endangerment issues. We do a lot of that follow-up through the emergency departments, wherever we're taking the patient to. If we're not transporting the patient, then We do have some follow-up. I know that we follow up with Borough in the past and some of our other municipalities as well. And there's also social services that get involved with some of these patients at the hospitals as well. However, if the patient is, says, whatever nomenclature we're using to call them, that they are completely cognizant they can decline those services too. So we've had some child endangerment issues where those have been investigated by the county. We've had some elderly endangerment issues where or perceived endangerment. The county has come out and investigated those, being that it's not really an endangerment issue. This is just the way that some people live, and this problem continues to proliferate. So just echo that. We see that as well on our side. The only other thing I want to talk about tonight, just briefly, is prior to his departure, we would communicate fairly regularly with Mark, and I have not been to a Borough Council meeting in a while, so since there's been some changes there, I just wanted to stop in and just see if there's any issues or concerns from an EMS standpoint. We continue to staff our station here 24/7. We have some challenges we're facing this summer, and I just recently spoke with some of you via email chain on that. We are working through that. Our biggest challenge at this point in the healthcare industry, not just EMS, but all healthcare, remains staffing. We were actually, when Penn State brought Susquehanna Valley on board with our organization, we inherited them less than 50% staff. We had made some very, very great accomplishments moving forward over the past 2 years, and actually this August is our third anniversary now that we've had Susquehanna Valley as part of Penn State Health. Really bumping those staffing rosters up. However, the median age of our staff we see is in their mid-20s. We had about 10 EMTs here in the Lancaster division through June and July leave the organization. 6 of them left to go to school full-time, which is great for them. 3 of them moved out of state, and 1 left for a job with another EMS agency outside the area. So we're seeing that constant churn. We're having to kind of rethink how we address that going forward. We are very optimistic that we're not taking this line down. We had a virtual job fair here a couple weeks ago. We actually had 2 people start on Monday. We're down here in the Lancaster region, and we are we're having another internal EMT class in October. And we've had so far about 10 applicants just for the Lancaster region for that. And of the interviews we've done so far, 5 of them look to be pretty good candidates. So we're continuing to advertise and hire, not just for the Lancaster region down here, but also our West Shore region. So we are continuing to work through that. But we are going to continue to see some challenges on that. As you know by your reports, the unit is busy. We're doing about 175 to 200 911 calls a month here in the borough. And in addition to that, our other municipalities and then neighboring municipalities that we respond to mutually. There was some, when we look at some of our numbers, about 80% of the call volume that we handle in Lancaster County, we're doing about 1,200 on average calls, 911 calls a month in Lancaster County. About 80%, 70 to 80% of those calls are in Lifeline municipalities. So Columbia, the Hempfields, times 2, Manheim, Mount Juliet, Penn, Rapid Township. The other 20% are outside of our area. So the Donegals, the Elizabethtown, the majority of those calls that we do mutual aid are towards the center of the county, which is obviously a more populous area. And that's what mutual aid's for. So the trucks are busy. Our hospital is doing quite well. And one of the concerns that we had from a lot of municipal leaders when we first came on was a concern that 911 trucks would be not available because of the hospital needs. There are some significant hospital locations that we have to take from Lancaster Medical Center up to Hershey Med Center for specialty care. But again, we have control over when they go. And I can tell you that our transport volume out of the hospital is much lower than what we initially anticipated. So the trucks are, those 1,200 calls a month are really 911 calls. So they are moving. And we're doing averaging about 125 non-emergency transports out of the hospital a month in addition to that 1,200. So we are continuing working forward with our staffing challenges and just trying to be a partner, working great with our fire EMS, our fire and police colleagues, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have for me.
Anyone? No? All right, thank you.
Good to be connected with you for a ride soon.
Drop us a line, we'll look you up. All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, Mayor Lutz.
Yeah,
Scott and Scott.
We would dress alike tonight.
Yeah. Had me confused, I had to answer. I was getting tangled up with names. Let me say, quite interesting, some of the things that you both said tonight, I just want to expound on them a little bit. We recognize, and Chief Brummer and I talked about this the other day, we recognize that there had been several fires here today. And thank you, Scott, for saying they're not related to arson. And in our discussion, it came down to, it's been a pretty hot summer and dry. And we suspected the same thing that you said. There are people running air conditioners, fans, whatever have you, plugged in with extension cords, power strips, whatever have you. Maybe they have a 60 amp service or a 100 amp service, old knob and tube wiring or something like that, and it's causing some of these problems. What's the answer? And you're right. This has been going on for the 24 years that I've been around here. And it probably will continue to go on, but one thing we can do, and I know the fire service does a wonderful job on this, but maybe we need to do a little more, and that's education. We need to educate folks, especially those folks living in rental properties. And rental properties and owner occupied pose two different problems, because we can get in one without much trouble. The other one, as Paula said, we got to have a reason when they're get a search warrant and when they're at it. So they do pose problems, but we need to start educating people, whether they be living in their home or renting a home, that there's certain things you can't do. You're playing, not no pun intended, but you're playing with fire when you do some of this stuff. If you grab a hold of some of those extension cords, you can feel the heat in them, and you know darn well something's going to happen. Ironically, the house on 8th Street, and I'm going to mention this, happened to be, and you mentioned about hoarding. It happened to be a home. The person living in that home owns a home in town that's now condemned for the same reason. So they got put out of the home they own, and the home that they're renting caused the same condition, and lo and behold, here's a fire. So we have some problems with hoarding. We have some problems with people doing the wrong thing, taking smoke detectors down. Why they're taking them down, I don't know. Whether they're selling them or whatever, I don't know. Or maybe they're making noise and disturbing them, waking them up. But we need to step up on the education, I feel, in that area, that some of these fires. And that goes along with something we talked about for a long time, and Coach is involved in it, or is involved in it. We need to know who's in those rental properties. As you alluded to, Scott, you go into a home where there's where there's a fire, you need to know how many residents are in that and start accounting for them. And if you start accounting for, say, 4 people that's listed in the rental unit, but there's 6 or 8 living there, we may lose some lives because of that. So it's imperative that we keep that up to date, and that the property owner of these rental properties keep that registration up to date and those changes of occupancy up to date. It can mean the life of somebody, and hope to God it never happens that way. But I remember a fire up on Walnut Street, right across the street from Kraft's Funeral Home. We were looking for 3 people. Lo and behold, we located all 3 people outside the unit, but then we found out that there was 5 people living there. So we had a heck of a time until we were able to track down, they were Spanish-speaking people, which made it even more difficult, but until we tracked down the other 2 people. But the fire service went in there thinking that there may be 2 people inside that dwelling that we didn't know about in the beginning. And that can mean a matter of life and death. But thank you all for that. And one last comment. And I know there's laws involved in it, but I think we do a wonderful job between codes, fire service, and police, and hopefully with Lifeline, that when the guys see these issues, that they tell someone about them. We had a wonderful relationship, and I think we're developing that relationship with Lifeline, with Susquehanna Valley, you know. I know the reason we found out about the home on 7th Street, or on 8th Street, excuse me, was the fireman happened to talk, but he just happened to be one of our police officers too, that was there, and alerted us to the hoarding issue. But so many times with the other organizations, fire and EMS and police, we're able to solve some code issues. So that maintaining that relationship is so important. And thank you for what you do, and I ask you to keep on doing that to assist us. Especially, like I said, it's hard to get in owner-occupied property, but with the reason we can get in there. A lot of things that I was going to say that I haven't been addressed, but I'm going to address them again. Bikes. The vehicle code says, Chief Robert and I talked, and he instructed his officers this week. We're seeing a lot of bikes, whether they be regular bikes or e-bikes. You must have, in the dark, you must have a light in the front and back. Clear light in front with so many lumens, red light in the back with so many lumens. We have issued some citations on that. We're going to continue to do that and step that up. I don't want to see a child or anybody, for that matter, hit for riding at nighttime, dark clothing, no lights on. And the time's starting to change, where it's starting to get dark a little earlier, we may see it. The other thing is we're seeing some people riding bicycles, whether they be regular bikes or e-bikes, on the wrong side of the road. The vehicle's code says you operate that bike the same as you would a motor vehicle. On the right side of the road, you stop for stop signs, whatever. There was a person cited out, I think, in the Manor Street area for running stop signs on a bicycle, on a motorbike. And there was a person cited down on Locust Street for doing donuts on 200 block Locust Street on an e-bike. So we have been citing, and we're stepping it up. Chief and I have been talking about that. Main reason, you know, we don't want to see someone get hurt. That's the bottom line. We don't want to see someone.
And that's already occurred, Mayor, as you're probably aware. We've been involved now in 2 or 3 of those already that came in as pedestrian struts or vehicle accidents that involve e-bikes. One of those within the last couple of weeks was very severe.
One down one.
One sent a person to the trauma center, but I think there's a twofold message there. This is, to me, is back to kind of a landlord issue. I don't speak to the investigation, but I believe it's pretty clear from one that that person on the bike was stopped sitting at the intersection waiting on a red light when they got hit.
Yeah.
So that's not the e-bike's fault. So the message is, yes, there are people on e-bikes doing things they should be doing, but I think we also need to get the community message out of Frank's point. There are more of these. Everybody needs to be more aware.
Absolutely.
Watch for them, because not every incident is the e-bike's fault either.
Absolutely. You're right, Scott. And that goes back to the education. We need to start doing some education on some of these things. A couple of weeks ago, I met with the Columbia Merchants Association and the Columbia Economic Development Corporation. And the topic was problems we're having with rental properties, and what can we do to solve some of these problems, ones that we talked about here tonight, these same exact problems. And there was a lot of good discussion that night, and then they came back, and I asked them to put it down on paper, bring these suggestions back on paper, and send them to me, and I think I forwarded them. I think all of you saw those suggestions. Since that time, a couple of us have been meeting as much as just this past week. Our legislative chair, Kelly Murphy, Paula, Chief Romer, and I sit down and went over some of this and talked about some of these issues. And a couple of things we're finding is it's taking a long period of time. Amy, you'll understand this. It's taking a long period of time for things to happen. We're doing things, but because of the way the ordinances are set up and the system, it takes a longer period of time than we would like. with, 3 strikes. Okay, we have 3 strikes, but we have nothing in our ordinance that refers back, only one piece in our ordinance that refers back to the rental property owner. We need to take a look at that. The quick tickets have an appeal process, and there's like 3 steps to those quick tickets with appeal processes. We sat down with the whiteboard the other day, and I showed them how one property is already up over 45 days. Nothing's been done because of the appeal process, and so what I'm saying, what I want to end with here tonight is, I would like to see the legislative committee hold a meeting, like we used to do a committee meeting, and discuss some of those things and come up with some changes that we can make so that we can attack these problems in a more timely manner and get some resolution to some of these chronic problems. You know, for 45 days, because of appeals and things like that, that's not right. We can't live with that, you know. And for landlords to basically put it on the tenant, we got 3 strikes, yeah, but then to thumb their nose at us, basically like, well, they know before, and I track they send me every disruptive conduct. I track them. Before most people get 3 disruptives, they're out of the property. Sometimes moved into another property that the property owner owns, but they're playing a game there, so the property owner isn't being held liable for anything.
Evan, do you
Yeah.
want to address the?
I wanted to address 1 or 2 things there.
Sure.
One,
Please do.
yeah, hearing everything tonight has certainly brought into focus how important getting your nuisance ordinance done is. You should have a draft of that within the next month for sure. Our work, yes, but I think the nuisance ordinance has to take into account maybe some changes, because that nuisance ordinance is going to work best, to be quite frank with you all, if you get rid of the quick ticket process.
Absolutely.
The quick tickets, I think, are clouding the process to get a property into compliance. They make it confusing when you take it to the district justice. It drags out the process because you've got to get 3 quick tickets, which go out 2 weeks apart until you get to a notice of violation, which is just entirely unworkable. You have to have an appeal process. The local agency law requires you to have that, but there's no reason for you to have 3 appeal processes. But I think if we can incorporate maybe some of those changes into what we do with the nuisance ordinance, 1, you start to hold owners of the property accountable for some of those things, some of the problems we heard tonight, like trash and those kind of things. I mean, I think we can maybe address some of the animals running at large now with the animal ordinance that you have, but that's beside the point. We'll work on that. But I think if we can address some of those things as we change your nuisance ordinance and consolidate that, I think you can really speed up some of these quality of life issues that seem to be plaguing the borough.
Well, but I believe, you know, I haven't seen the nuisance ordinance. I haven't seen the rough draft or whatever.
Okay.
But I don't believe the nuisance ordinance is going to wind up being a panacea. It's not going to take care of everything. So we need to look at what we have in those areas to see how we can strengthen them and cut down on that period of time. You're right, Evan. With the appeal process, we may have to have that appeal process at one point.
Yeah.
I don't like the appeal process because till you start appealing, and then it goes over to the DJ until the DJ sets the docket. We're working on one since February.
I know. I get that. Absolutely. And it should not be anywhere close to that long.
That's absolutely crazy.
It should not be anywhere close to that. I'm talking, depending on what the violation is, you have different periods to cure that. Whether if it's mowing the lawn, it might be 5 days or 7 days. That's reasonable. If somebody's got to clear out a property that's full of junk, it might be 30 days. But you do that, and if that doesn't happen, it gets filed with the DJ, or you go in and you do it and you file a lien against the property. But there's no excessive. It doesn't need to be, and that fine in, you know, in the nuisance ordinance that you'll see, if you see a draft, that is up to a $600 a day fine. And so you don't mess around with that, and it becomes very quickly, I'll say a large number if somebody doesn't want to do what you're asking them to do.
Yeah, when we discuss it, we like in the process, to simplify it, the process should be more like a parking ticket.
Mhm.
Where a ticket's written, and if you want to appeal it over to district justice.
Mhm.
We're going to get some action.
Mhm.
You know, and the reason I'm saying, I would like to sit down with the council, sit down with the legislative head and have this discussion. I'd like to see all of you all have some input and some discussion about this.
I have it on for the October workshop.
Thank you very much. You're always picking my brain. You're always
No,
you're one step ahead of me.
Yeah, we got too much for September, but we will definitely, I have it on for October.
Good, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to shut up.
Just like one question for you. You talk about e-bikes and bicycles. There's another problem as well as these motorized scooters that these young kids have. And they're driving them in the streets, and it's not just kids, it's adults too. But I mean, we have to, there's nothing covered in our ordinance about that.
That's actually what started it.
Should they be on the sidewalk or should they be on the street as well? Because they're motorized.
That's what started it. The scooters must be on the sidewalk.
Right.
Chief addressed this though. They're not even allowed on the sidewalk.
Not even allowed on the sidewalk.
Scooters are only allowed in designated areas for scooters, which are parks, other areas where you can ride around.
Yeah, and it's tough when you're doing, you know, when you're out there.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming up on.
But the guys are stepping it up, and there have been citations written.
I mean, you guys really be, I mean, anytime I see for anybody out there, just, if you see anybody e-bike, e-scooter, whatever, just be careful because, I mean, there was a young lady, she was on her scooter, I was coming up on her, said, I'm just giving her plenty of time. All of a sudden, the last minute, she swerved right in front of me. So when I finally got around her, she's on her cell phone. I'm talking on a cell phone while you're on an electric scooter. I about freaking lost my mind.
We're going to step up the citations on them. We also need to do some education.
Yeah, we really need a lot of education. Like I said, the chief did say that they're not even supposed to be on the street.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right, at this time, Frank, we're gonna move ahead unless you,
I'm gonna address the mayor.
okay?
Won't take long. Compared to the answers I got before. Mayor, you addressed the amount of people living in the homes. Scott addressed it, some citizens addressed it. You and the council made rules on that. We have rules that says you're only allowed somebody in the home. What do you do, council and you, what do you do when you find out and know there's X amount of people in the homes? What's done about it?
They're issued a notice of violation. They have a certain period of time. I don't know what the period of time is, Paul, but a certain period of time that those people have to get out.
How many times was that done?
Quite a few.
I can show you a place where they're living in the cellar, they're living in the attic,
We
they're
can
living
only
in the
do that in a
garage.
rental, Frank.
Yeah, we can only.
It can only happen in a rental. We can't do anything for multiple people in a
Single family.
in an owner occupied home.
Okay,
We can
according to
the fire code.
With the search
Right,
warrant.
with the search warrant.
It's a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher in an owner occupied.
It's tough, but yeah. But first thing we have to do is we have to know about it.
well, I'm just saying, when you do know about it, what has been done, and maybe this is a lot of the problem. One other question, and I'll get down from here. Ridge Avenue, where we had the borough equipment stored, there was numerous pieces of equipment damaged in there. So fill me in as to what was the value of the damage and what has been done to this point. Who paid the restitution? Give me a, for instance.
I think Jake had to report.
Yeah, we had to make a report.
Yeah,
Sure.
Most of the damage was to our mini excavator. Most of the damage was to our mini excavator that was out there, and that was 2 windows busted out. I think it was like $800 for the 2 windows. Everything else was just like pretty, for the most part, spray painted. So it just took time to clean some of that stuff up. There was a door out there, an overhead door that had considerable damage to it. And I think there was a quote for like $2,500 to get that fixed. But them doors will all get replaced with the rehab anyway. So all that equipment for the most part is out of there now. We pretty much took most of it out. So since then, there's been electric installed out there where I think there's 3 sets of lights out there, and then now there is cameras installed out there, along with trail cams where the police get the alert if something trips them.
Who paid the damage?
We paid the damage.
Insurance company or a taxpayer?
Well, it came out of our budget, our repair budget. And basically what that was, I think, top of my head, it was like $800 for the windows and some of the stuff to replace that, for that mini excavator.
And what did the kids get out of this?
I don't know where that's at with the kid. That's with the police department.
That's still working through the system.
How long does that usually take now?
It's hard to say how long it'll be, because it says court date.
Up to the judge, unfortunately.
All right, at 8:32 PM, we're going to exit the regular meeting. And at 8:32 PM, we're going to enter the public hearing to discuss the rezoning of 740 South 12th Street. Evan, do you want to conduct the hearing?
Yes. So we will start out, if anyone, this is a hearing to rezone the property at 740 South 12th Street from light business, which it was when it was part of what is now the McGinnis Innovation Park, to, I believe, medium density residential. So if anyone on council would like to make any comments, and then we'll open it up to anyone in the audience.
I just want to point out, in the packet, there was the map. The parcel we're talking about had the red dot in it.
Does anyone in the audience have any comments they would like to make as part of this hearing?
I don't have a comment, but I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why the zoning change?
Because, I mean, I think Mark would probably talk to this if he was still here, but largely it is because that parcel is kind of an out parcel, as part of the McGinnis Innovation Park. It makes sense to make that what the surrounding properties are, to keep the character of that neighborhood the same. You wouldn't want, I think, a light business use on that parcel surrounded by other houses. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, this had been rezoned to light business initially because we thought it was going to be used as part of the innovation park.
Mhm.
And then when it was determined it was not needed to be in the park, we're
Yep.
zoning it back
Yep.
to where it should have
Yep.
stayed.
and this was recommended for approval by both the Lancaster County Planning Commission and your local planning commission as well.
I really agree with you. I just wanted to hear.
Of course, yep.
Yep. Were there any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, then at 8:35 PM, we are going to exit the hearing. And at 8:35 PM, we are going to re-enter the regular council meeting. Our first action item is to consider ordinance 952 of 2024, rezoning 740 South 12th Street from light business to medium density residential. Do I have a motion to adopt that ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Fisher, to adopt ordinance 952 of 2024, rezoning 740 South 12th Street from light business to medium density residential. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Zink,
Yes.
Councilperson Bernard.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy,
Yes.
Councilperson Fisher,
Yes.
Councilperson Stahl,
Yes.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Yes.
Mayor Letts.
He doesn't vote.
Yep.
All right, that passes. Next, we have resolution 2024-31, authorizing the sale by auction of used borough vehicles. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
The motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Bernard, to adopt resolution 2024-31. Questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Frank?
What are they? What's the vehicle?
It is a 2016 Chevy Silverado.
Okay, one.
Yes. Yes, this will go to Enterprise.
So, Evan, can I ask?
Of course.
We have a contract with Enterprise,
Mhm.
and we all voted on this contract, which included the sale of vehicles initially and throughout the process of being with that contract. Why do we have to vote on it every time now?
It's a borough code thing because you are still disposing of vehicles that are not part of the contract with Enterprise.
Initially, we voted on that contract, that was part of the agreement of the contract.
Yes. But you still have to do a resolution like this if you want to dispose of any property worth over $2,000. It's just part of, yeah. I mean, the one nice thing is that as a resolution, it doesn't cost you any, you don't have to advertise this. We have to advertise the sale of the vehicle, but doing this resolution doesn't really cost you anything, but it still is part of the borough code. If you want to get rid of something like this, you've got to do
And
this.
then once we, are to the point where all of the vehicles we have are the leased vehicles, we will not have to do this anymore.
Yeah, yep. And we're close on that, I do
Yeah.
believe, so.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? No, I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Bernard to adopt resolution 2024-31, authorizing the sale by auction of used borough vehicles. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next, could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
So, second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? No?
Just on the first page, since we were talking about mini excavator glass, there was a $50 charge with AOK Auto Glass. I didn't know if that had to do with the.
Yeah, that did. That had to do with installing the glass.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, makes sense.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next, we have a special event application request for Cumulus Media 96.1 SOX Radio to host the annual Santa D's Toy Challenge in Jug Handle at the Route 462 Bridge. Does anyone, we do this every year. Does anyone want to vote on this tonight? Do we have a motion?
Yes, repeat.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Bernard to approve the special event application for Cumulus Media 96.1 SOX Radio to host their annual Santa D's Toy Challenge in the Jug Handle at the entrance to the Route 462 Bridge from Sunday, December 8th, 2024 through Friday, December 13th, 2024, during which the employees of Cumulus Media will camp out and collect toys, which will be donated to Toys for Tots. This approval is contingent upon receipt of the required certificate of insurance. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Yeah, a couple years that we're gonna have a couple more years, and who knows what'll happen. Next, we have a crossing guard, a new crossing guard. Max Antes, as a part-time crossing guard at the beginning at the non-uniform contract rate of $17 per hour. Does anyone have a problem voting on that tonight?
Nope.
All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the hiring of Max Antes as part-time crossing guard beginning at the non-uniform contract rate of $17 per hour and contingent upon successful completion of the required background check, medical exam, and drug screening. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we have Resolution 2024-32, appointing Alexander Tinsley as zoning officer for Columbia Borough. This is to bring our zoning back in-house, away from Commonwealth Code, so that we, and I mean, this was the whole point of hiring Alex, so I'd like to do this. He's here with us tonight if anyone has any questions. Here? Your question? All right. Yes, Frank?
Is there anything you can tell us about this person?
Well, he's a borough employee, and he's been a borough employee since February.
Okay, what kind of education do they have?
April 1st, I'm sorry, April. He has some of the zoning qualifications. He has building inspectors. He's working on other certifications.
Okay, is this the one, kind of a big guy?
He's sitting right back there, Frank.
You're not the one I was thinking of, though.
You're thinking of Matt.
Okay, and you're hiring him what rate?
He's
already been hired.
He's already been hired.
He was
Now
hired.
he's going to zoning officer.
We're just officially naming him as the zoning officer.
At what rate?
I am not sure what the rate.
I don't, yeah, whatever he was
It's
hired
not-
at, he's not
there's no-
changing his rate.
There's no change in rate.
No change in-
From what? No, that's the
Oh, that's
crossing
crossing.
guard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would have to look at the budget.
Okay.
Does anyone?
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
This one.
I just wanted to, be clear on, is he replacing that Sharon Smith's position?
No, he is a zoning officer. It
Doesn't have the management
It
duties.
doesn't have the management duties. And we had decided after Sharon Sino that we were going to go to the model of just having a zoning officer.
Okay.
So that's why he was hired for that role. He is also, helps in the codes department. He's been, up to this point, he's been doing primarily code things, but he has been doing the road opening permits. He's been reviewing the different things that do come in for zoning. He's been working with Commonwealth Code to learn those kinds of things. He's been working with Derek and Jessica and.
So we had someone interim that he's replacing.
Commonwealth Code.
Commonwealth
Yeah.
Code.
Yes.
We contracted with Commonwealth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought there was an interim person
Yeah.
here. So he's basically replacing them.
Yeah.
Well, Commonwealth isn't here. They were here 2 days a week.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
he's here full time.
Okay, thanks.
He was hired as the zoning code officer, as a zoning code officer.
Yes. So this is just the official naming, because you have to have someone named as the zoning officer. So I don't have a problem voting on this tonight. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-32?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Fisher, to adopt resolution 2024-32, appointing Alexander Tinsley as zoning officer for Columbia Borough. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Told you, Alex, we got you, man. I told you, we got you. All right. No. Next, this was added last week, a contract with Cidium Solutions for the data storage upgrade. Jack was meeting with them last week, and it came up that we are at capacity for our data storage. We need to increase capacity. I put the information from Cidium in there, and then you all got the executive brief. I forgot I had to type that up. So I typed that up this afternoon. Basically, we had two options to upgrade the data storage. If we do it with a 3-year contract, the upfront cost is $59.34. But if we do it with a 1-year contract, it's $11,868. To me, it's a no-brainer to do the 3-year contracts. We're using the same, we've not, I don't really think there's an appetite to change our data storage solution, and Cidium has been extremely good to us. We've not had issues like we did with the other IT companies. So I would recommend that we do this with the 3-year contract. Like I said, the one-time expense will be the $59.34.38, and then the ongoing monthly commitment will increase our it'll increase our monthly by not forget what it is, a little over $500 more a month from what we are currently paying. So does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
Could you clarify the hardware cost with a 3-year commitment? Is that per year?
No, that's once and done.
That's once and done. So how is it so much different than a 1-year commitment?
Because the longer the contract, it's better for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like we looking at our new contract, our contract is currently up, and the difference between the cost if we contract for 1 year versus 3 year is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Savings.
The other
It's just
question.
that longevity.
The other question I had was, I know there was some talk about taking our data into the cloud and no longer storing it on site with storage, a physical storage solution. So where's that conversation at?
You're still going to have the cost, whether it's on site or in the cloud. You're still going to have that cost for data storage, no matter where it is.
Right, but
So,
what is the cost comparison?
I'm not sure. We can certainly ask that question. I had not thought to ask that. It's been sort of.
I'd like to see a quote or numbers on that at least, so we can make an informed decision.
Okay.
Have options.
All right. I'll go back and I'll ask that.
I would think this has some kind of cloud backup.
Oh, yeah.
Right, included in that.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, and until I took my cloud computing class, I didn't realize that there's still a whole lot of cost involved with the cloud storage. It's just a matter, we don't have to have them stuff one time.
The cloud isn't actually in a cloud. It's just a physical hardware storage unit.
Somewhere else.
It's in a storage unit
Yep.
somewhere.
Yeah.
This just address the borough side? and
Both.
the Police side, both sides? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. All right, I will talk to Jack about that, and I'll bring that back at another meeting.
Heather, before you leave that, I'm not an IT person. I don't want to be. But you may have answered my question. Two questions. One, the upgrade, is it going to be enough so that in a couple of years, we'll go back over this again and say, oh, we got to add more?
We're always gonna have to
Or
add
you have
more.
that on.
We're always
You
gonna
gotta-
have to add more.
So much more stuff to say.
And I'll buy that. The other part, I think Todd may have answered it. I recall when we first started getting involved, I've been right here so long that I probably predate some of these computers. But I remember what, don't laugh. I remember when we started talking about some of this stuff, that we were advised to store our information here on site, but then have our information stored somewhere else. Now, you're talking about storing on site. Now, I think I heard Todd say it's also going to be backed up on the cloud or somewhere else.
I think so, I'll have to talk.
In other words, if our units burn up, God forbid, we still have that information stored somewhere else.
I believe we do, yes, but I will double check.
Would you please?
Yes.
I'll feel more comfortable if I
Yep.
know that all of those documents are not going to be lost. Because the way I look at it, if it's electrical or mechanical, it's going to break down sooner or later.
Yep, it is. All right,
Thank you.
anything else? All right, Solicitor Gable.
Not too much to report tonight, but I am going to meet with Kelly and Jessica on the nuisance ordinance here very, very shortly, so we can get that going. We were supposed to meet today, but she wasn't able to make that meeting. So we are working on that and continue to assist in any way that I can here. So it's been a little different role since Mark left, but we're just doing everything we can to help out. So if there's anything I can do, let me know.
Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, I'd like to announce that the borough received $200,000 from the Lancaster County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, and that's the CDBG project of the 9 and 1000 blocks of Walnut Street, which will happen in 25. So
All right, boards, commissions, and committees, there's no upcoming meetings between now and next week. In your packet, there's approved minutes from the Planning Commission workshop on June 18th, and also the Planning Commission meeting on July 16th. Borough Council comments, Councilperson Stahl,
Nothing, thank you.
Councilperson Murphy,
Nothing there.
Councilperson Kaufman. Councilperson Fisher. Nothing. And I have nothing either. It's kind of been a whirlwind, so,
Heather, before you.
I just want to show you.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I think Heather got a copy.
Uh,
I did get it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
This has been a trying time,
Yes, it has.
okay? And let me say to all of you and to all of our employees, I am so pleased to see that I never thought things would run as smoothly as they are running. Yeah, there's some hiccups, don't get me wrong, and some people are working their tails off, but business as usual is happening, it's being conducted. And I just want to thank everybody for to this point. What has been done to this point, to me, is phenomenal. I had a lot of reservations going into this, a lot of lost sleep, but everybody involved in Columbia Borough is doing a wonderful job. Thank you all.
Thank you. Announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on September 3rd. Council will hold a workshop. We are also going to be doing some voting business on that day because we will be redoing the conditional use hearing for 950 South 9th Street. This evening, we will be adjourning to executive session discuss personnel matters related to replacing staff. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to adjourn at 8:55 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we are adjourned. You want to cut us off?
Hold on, yeah.